Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Tuesday, April 6th, and I've got your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Thank you so much for choosing to be here. We start with the breaking news at around 2:30 this afternoon. It was announced that Dr. Amy Acton will not be running to fill the Senate seat that will be open after Senator Rob Portman has decided he will not run again in the 2022 election. So we have now learned from her office that she will not consider a run. This is after 2 months ago she said that she would consider a run. She says it's been an honor to be considered to run for the Senate and that she has a profound reverence for the office and for the people who answer the call to public service. She says she's deeply grateful for the outpouring of support from Ohioans and that she appreciates everyone who has worked quietly behind the scenes to help her consider whether she would run. And while she is not entering the race for the Senate, she says this: I recognize there is a genuine longing for a fresh approach to leadership that is honest, collaborative, and empowering. Ohioans, do not accept anything less from your elected officials. Our leaders' words and actions matter. We must set the bar higher. On that note, early voting is now underway for Ohio's primary election on May 4th. So you can now drop off your absentee ballots in person or vote in person early at your county board of elections or mail in those absentee votes. Now, as a reminder, this is not the primary election for Ohio's 11th congressional district seat. That's the seat that was previously held by then Representative Marcia Fudge, who is now the U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. That special primary election will be on Tuesday, August 3rd, but there are still very important issues at hand at this primary. There are several Northeast Ohio school districts with levies on the ballot and also tax levies for the fire and emergency medical services of some cities. And we've got a full list of the issues on the ballot. You can find that linked at WKYC.com, as well as the hours for early in-person voting at your Board of Elections. Now, today, as of Tuesday, April 6th, Ohio's Stand Your Ground gun law is now officially in effect. And Ohio is now the 36th state to have a law like this where you are no longer required to retreat before using lethal force with a gun when someone is coming towards you. So in self-defense, you are no longer now required to retreat before shooting to hurt or kill someone who is threatening your personal safety. Cleveland City Council member Bashir Jones said that this would lead to unnecessary injuries and deaths of black and brown people, and he brought up the instances where police have been called on black and brown people for just existing in a park, for bird watching, for doing their jobs and things like that. And he said he fears what will happen now. He had hoped the governor would veto the bill and is disappointed that that didn't happen. He said, "We won't forget this." Now, it was thought that Governor Mike DeWine might veto the bill because it didn't have bolstering for background checks in place. It didn't toughen laws on people who are found to be in possession of guns if they had lost the legal right to be in possession of guns. And it didn't expand the legal process for courts to temporarily seize guns from people who are in situations of mental health crises. Governor DeWine did, however, say that these are things that need to happen, and he's not giving up on them. In Minneapolis, it's now day 7 of the murder trial for Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer who was accused of killing George Floyd. And we have seen expert testimony surrounding the use of force by Minneapolis police officers. As a reminder, Chauvin is charged with second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder in George Floyd's death. Most recently, this morning, the jury heard from Lieutenant Johnny Mercil, who is in charge of use of force training. He was in charge of that at the time of Floyd's arrest. He said using a knee on a person's neck is not a trained Minneapolis Police Department neck restraint, but it isn't unauthorized when using force. And he confirmed that once someone is handcuffed and under control, it would not be authorized. He also said that Chauvin may have been drawing on other training about using his weight to gain control, but that officers are trained to avoid the neck and instead put it on their shoulder and be mindful of position. During cross-examination, the defense asked if he has ever trained officers that if a person can talk, they can breathe, and he said, yes, it's been said. Now, the judge in the case, Judge Peter Cahill, said that the evidence from officers that they would have done something differently is getting to the point of being cumulative evidence, and that means it's not admissible because it's not necessary because the point has been established. He said this after hearing from officers on Friday and again on Monday about Chauvin's use of force. He said, you're not going to be able to ask every officer, what would you have done differently? Now there's a new study out that talks about how long the Moderna vaccine continues to protect people against COVID-19. And new research suggests that that lasts for at least 6 months. And there was research that came out last week that said the same about Pfizer. Now, if you're like me, when I initially heard this, I thought to myself, geez, just 6 months. That doesn't seem like it's very long, but that's all the data that they have because these trials were done about 6 months ago. That's when they were completed, is about 6 months ago. So we need to keep that in mind when we look at this information. So what we know is that the vaccine gives protection against COVID-19 for at least 6 months, according to what these studies suggest. Now, these were follow-ups on people who received the shots during the studies that led to the emergency use authorization for these vaccines. And a separate study showed that the vaccines do still seem to protect against a variant that was first found in the United Kingdom that is rapidly spreading in the U.S. and elsewhere. And both Pfizer and Moderna have said they're working to update their vaccines or possibly design a booster shot in case they are needed against those variants. Now let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 numbers. These first numbers globally and nationally come from Johns Hopkins University. Globally, there have now been 132,104,106 reported cases of COVID-19 and 2,864,509 deaths. Here in the U.S., where we have 4% of the population, we are leading the world in cases and deaths, but those percentages are ticking down slightly. We now have 23.3% of the global reported COVID cases and 19.4% of the global reported COVID deaths. Those numbers in the U.S., 30,799,376 reported cases and 555,792 reported deaths. Here in Ohio, we've got the latest numbers from the Ohio Department of Health. In the last day, there have been 1,871 new reported COVID cases. We can't really compare these numbers to yesterday because yesterday the state reported 2 days worth of numbers because of the Easter holiday. But we do know the most up-to-date information on the reported deaths related to COVID-19 is now 18,741. So that's 98 more deaths since I last gave you those numbers on Friday, April 2nd. There have been 116 new hospitalizations in the last day, and there are now 1,136 people who are currently hospitalized with COVID-19, and 262 of those people are being treated in the intensive care unit. We've seen 10 new ICU admissions in the last day. Taking a look at the vaccination picture here in Ohio, more than 19% of Ohioans are now completely vaccinated. That's over 2.2 million people, and almost 35,000 more people completely vaccinated in the last day. And more than 32% of Ohioans have started the vaccination process. So that's almost 3.8 million people and more than 53,000 new people in the last day. So as we move toward vaccinations in Ohio, now Governor DeWine and our health director, Stephanie McLeod, have announced that they are consolidating current health orders. And what that will do is that'll ease up on the rules for large outdoor gatherings like graduations and festivals. And the state won't cap the size of these events. So what DeWine and Director McLeod are now doing is they are getting rid of the old orders and they're combining them. So there's 2 orders that were entered. We've got them linked on WKYC.com. One rescinds the previous orders and the other talks about social distancing, facial coverings, and non-congregating at these events, emphasizing wearing masks, limiting the large gatherings, practicing good hand washing and hygiene, and being outside at those events. Now, the biggest difference is that large events and gatherings are no longer prohibited. DeWine said those things can take place, we can do anything, but it's how we do them. Speaking of those large events, the NFL draft is coming here to Cleveland, and construction has started on the stage where it will all go down right here in the heart of downtown Cleveland. That started today. So that stage will be located in the North Coast Harbor, just outside of First Energy Stadium, against the backdrop of Lake Erie. We've got a video of that construction up at WKYC.com, so you want to check that out. Very cool. Something else that's very cool, Cleveland's University Circle is currently number 1 in USA Today's Best Arts District poll. That voting is open until April 26th. So if you want to help that neighborhood, the very trendy, very popular neighborhood here in Cleveland, win and get that national recognition, we have the link to vote on WKYC.com. This is part of USA Today's annual 10 Best series, and The neighborhood, University Circle, has been chosen as a Reader's Choice selection for the Best Arts District. As I said, it's currently in first place. Just a couple of things in University Circle: the Cleveland Institute of Art Reinberger Gallery, the Cleveland Museum of Art, the Museum of Contemporary Art, and the Sculpture Center. There's also theaters, music halls, performing arts centers. It's right in the heart of Case Western Reserve University campus and right next to the historic neighborhood of Little Italy. It's also got the Cleveland Botanical Gardens. So a great little spot. And if you want to help them win, we've got the link to vote at WKYC.com. Here's something that's coming to the area: live music, live performance. Wonderstruck's 2-day outdoor music festival will be in Lake County. That'll be on July 24th and 25th at the Lakeland Community College. That's in Kirtland. 2-day festival. On the first day, the headliners will be Walk the Moon and Third Eye Blind. And on the second day, the headliners will be Portugal the Man and AJR. Now, the organizer said they'll be in constant communication with the state to make sure they're in compliance with the COVID-19 protocols. They say the safety of attendees, artists, vendors, and staff is their top priority. And if you want tickets to that, those go on sale today at 10 a.m. And if you've been following our Save Our Sauce series, the neighborhood we're focusing on this week is Akron. This is where our contributor Doug Tratner lets you know the great food spots in these particular areas. And here's just two of them. Lock 15 Brewing, that's at 21 West North Street. It's got an open kitchen flow, and they've got lots of pub grub like a sausage sampler, Nashville hot chicken sandwich, fish and chips, all that kind of good bar type food. That's at Lock 15 Brewing. Another one, Crave at 57 East Market Street. The chef owner Aaron Hervey, he's pretty famous for twisting kind of unconventional pairings like Cajun gumbo and fried chicken and waffles and all kinds of great stuff. So you can check that out. Again, 57 East Market Street, and we've got all of that linked at WKYC.com with a bunch of other great options from Akron if you want to get out and do some dining. One more thing to let you know before we go here. The Eagle Watch is on. You know those two eagles, Stars and Stripes? They've been the subject of a live cam at the Redwood Elementary School in Avon Lake. Well, 2 of their eggs have hatched, and we are on watch now for the third one. The second egg hatched shortly before 7 a.m. on Monday, and we are told that the third egg should hatch really anytime. So we've got that live stream up on WKYC.com. Everybody loves that live stream. These little eagles. We're definitely excited to see these little eaglets make their way into the world. So you can find that on WKYC.com. All right, that's it for your 3 News Now update for Tuesday, April 6th. I'll see you next up on What's New for the Clicking in Cleveland Trending Stories segment. I'll also have a segment in there today about COVID-19 vaccines and whether your employer can require you to get one. The answer is yes, but there's more details to it. So watch that, and that's also linked at WKYC.com. Between now and then, everyone enjoy this amazing 70-degree weather that we're experiencing after some cold days last week. And I will see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now. Stay safe and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.